What's up, Macadine family and listening audience? I'm Camille Shabazz, and I wanted to talk to you today about this plague and scourge that's not just in the black community, but America on a whole, and that is domestic violence. And the reason that I want to talk about that subject very briefly is because of the fact that in a recent times, up until just around a week and a half ago, people who are close to me and people who I know, and the ages range from 20s all the way to 60s, are involved or have been involved in domestic violence cases. And I've been there, and we all know that when it comes to domestic violence and police being called, the man is always the one, 99% of the time, who is the focus as being the bad guy, the one that they're more so prone to attack, arrest, or whatever. The question is, how do you prevent it? And why is it that you find yourself, as I once did, in that spiral of not being able to get out of, the triggers and the different things that cause domestic violence to take place? And what's crazy is that in the black community, the fundamentals of domestic violence, the abuses are overlooked. And for the most part, you only talk about when someone hits you upside the head, as opposed to all the bad things that you say to each other during conversation throughout the day and throughout the week. Those things are disregarded, not realizing that those are the building blocks and the actual ingredients that causes the explosion that ultimately comes down the line. In the Macadine, we talk about having a library. A library is the opposite of a diary, because in your library, you are actually programming yourself through I am statements to change your conduct and character through what the scientists refer to as autosuggestion or self-suggestion. Because we don't suggest things to ourselves, you get about 80,000 suggestions from others a day that influence you more than you do yourself, because we don't take the initiative and feed our minds and guide our minds, which, by the way, our brain is the greatest computer in the universe, and we don't use it. We are the Maserati of the universe, and we don't drive or treat our car, our vehicle, properly. So back to this domestic violence thing. As men, we gotta make sure that we keep ourselves in a cool state. Try to stay as cool and calm as you can at all times, because there's things going on around us all day to make us go crazy. So you gotta take the initiative. I gotta take the initiative to be proactive in our personal mental health through positive self-talk and not allowing yourself to be put in a position to ruin your whole life. And that's what domestic violence does. Domestic violence ruins your life. It puts a mark on you, a stain on you that's very, very hard, if not impossible, to remove. When we're taught throughout life to be violent, starting with cartoons, starting with the media and the movies. But that's another subject. But domestic violence is an epidemic. It's an epidemic, and it's not being given the proper attention that it needs, because there's a vested interest by lawyers and by the powers that be to profit off the weaknesses and the ignorances of the masses of the people, regardless to what color you are. It doesn't matter. So through a library, through self-suggestion on a regular basis, and practicing a new style of conduct you will attract people like yourself, like the mind that you are developing. And you will gradually discard those nitwits and those triggerers that would cause you to go off the deep end. When in reality, no one causes you to do anything. They may influence you, but the cause and the choice is always ours. So be mindful, because since COVID, domestic violence has gone up 70%. And in the black community, the number one cause, or 50% of the causes of deaths of black women is homicide. So that's something to think about, because violence is everywhere. And it's being promoted because there's profit in it. It's profit in violence. America was built on violence, and it is sustained on violence. So in order for you to take the nonviolent stance, or utilize violence when it's properly needed, you have to be on top of your mind game. You have to be on top of your mind, and you have to be on top of your emotions, which are connected. You and I must direct our emotions and keep our emotions in a positive motion, because all emotion is energy in motion. Keep your energy positive. Keep your circle positive, and you'll be all right. So be mindful, and don't fall for the tricks that a lot of these sisters are using to bait us into these tricks and traps. And once you get into that trick and trap, it's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of unnecessary time being wasted that could have been prevented just by us taking a walk, taking a ride, or hitting some of that cannabis. I'm hoping that this helped you. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.